The greatest challenge you will face as a whitetail hunter is killing a mature buck on public land. That hope has fueled Aaron Warbritton's determination. Now he heads carefully toward his first stand of the new season.
Well, it's October 7th. We just had a cold front push through last night. And I come in tonight with Zach, did a hanging hunt in our creek bottom unit. This is the same place where I killed my buck last year. And we've got 3 or 4 shooters in here on camera, including a big deer that we were hunting in here last year. He made it. And I just got a couple of velvet pictures of him, so I don't really know what he's doing right now. This was just as much a scouting mission as it is a hunt. We're kind of sitting in this observation stand, and it's overlooking this big bottom. What's in the middle of this nasty creek bottom, there's a little island of trees out there. You'll be able to see it when Zach pans across there. And this summer we found a bunch of buck beds in there that they're obviously using in the fall because there's rubs and stuff right there in the beds. It sets up real well for a buck to be bedded in there, especially on a west wind coming off of that hill that's full of timber over there. So I'd be very surprised if we don't see something come out of there. Got a real good wind right now. It's coming straight out of the west, just slightly fluttering and going back up on these oak flats. That's what the plan is anyway, is that those bucks are going to be in that bedding area. So we're pretty optimistic we'll see something tonight. Okay, where's he at? Oh, good God, he's a giant. Okay, he's a giant. He's to the right. He's walking right at us, dude. Oh, I've got Ray in the frame. I don't see the other one right now. Ray's way out there. Yeah, it's definitely Ray. I'm 100% positive it's him. And that other buck's mad. Ray's mad at him. You know, he's aggressively walking towards him. Do you have them? Yeah, they're gonna fight. Ray's posturing up to him. Here they go. Oh, yeah, Ray just pushed him off. No, it's a young buck. Ray's standing right on the edge. Oh no, they're both big bucks. No, here comes a third buck. Oh my God, dude. That one, the Ray is posturing up to that other one. Oh, we just got back up here to the car, finally. I don't even know what time it is. What time do you have, Zach?
It is 12:30.
Yeah, so that buck came in at last light and bedded. Zach and I decided to try to get down without spooking him. And we were able to get to the base of the tree and, 150 yards or so away from that buck before we started to pick up the pace. But it took us, I'd say it was 10:15 when we started getting out of there, and like Zach just said, it's 12:30 now. There's a pile of bucks in there. Good grief. That is proof right there that these buck bedding areas do work in October, because those bucks were in there fighting over the best bedding location, which is the one that we found in that little island. And just like Dan Infault was telling us on our podcast earlier this year, there was satellite bedding located around that little island. That's where lots of those other 2-year-old and 3-year-old bucks were at. I mean, what a great night, though. 4 shooter bucks, Ray Finkel, the deer that I've had 3 years of history with, and then that giant that came right in there underneath the stand at last light. So I just hope that we can get back in there tomorrow, come up with a good game plan, and maybe see one of these bucks again.
To prevent sweating on these long hikes into these public land areas, we prefer to pack a lot of our clothing in on the back of the stand and then layer up once we get to the tree. For an outer layer, I prefer the Cabela's Hybrid Jacket. It allows for a lot of range of motion, it's compressed down to make drawing a bow easier, and it's got insulation built into the core for those cool October evenings. In late August, we picked up this giant buck called Ray Finkel on one of our muddy trail cameras overlooking a bedding area. Upon checking the camera again in early October, we realized Ray was not using this bedding area, so we decided to push further in, leading to a great encounter and our first sit in the buck nest. When setting up close to buck bedding areas on public land, all of our gear has got to be totally silent. That's why we choose the Muddy Vantage Point tree stand. It has silent straps with no metal-on-metal contact and multiple platform adjustments to fit in just about any tree. For tree stand hunting, you can't beat the Realtree Extra camo pattern. As you can tell from our first sit in the buck nest, their pattern blends in extremely well and keeps us hidden from multiple bucks as they move around the field in front of us.
A day later, and 120 miles to the southeast, Mike Reed and Jared Mills also get their season started. The two bow hunters have developed a solid history of finding and tagging very impressive bucks. Mike's list for the new season is just taking shape, but before their focus shifts to antlers, the two bow hunters have other targets in mind.
Well, I'm finally getting a chance to talk after I shot that second doe. I only have 2 tags, and there's a 3-year-old and 4-year-old buck, and it looks like there's a doe and fawn working this way too, so Mike and I are gonna try to switch really quick. They're probably 60 yards out right now, so we'll see if we can make this happen.
I've been hunting for like 10 minutes and I've already shot 2, so this cold front's got them feeling excited. They're really on their feet. I know the other group that's out here doe hunting has got at least 1, so that makes 5 for the morning, which is a good start to the Doe Fest weekend.
We just recovered doe number 6. It was a fun morning. It's pretty nice that all these deer were within about 100 yards of the tree. So fun hunt, definitely one that I've never experienced before, and I'm looking forward to this evening's hunt.
For my part, I have 2 bucks on my radar, two great bucks that we found during the summer, both deer that are carryovers from the previous fall. Skinny is a wide 10-pointer that sprang unbelievably from what had been a generic-looking buck the previous year. Conversely, Lefty has a pedigree, already showing signs of greatness in 2015. Regardless, both are now giants and worth weeks of effort. With enough trail cam photos to establish home ranges for both bucks, I have to choose my first quarry. Skinny is being particularly tough to pattern, seemingly still settling into his fall range as the October page flips up on the calendar.
I don't think we're going to pick up Skinny again until we go that way, up the valley. I don't think he's living on me.
Lefty, however, seems to be the more predictable of the two, and it is on him that I set my early sights. You can learn a lot more from a trail cam photo than just when and where. In fact, by studying the direction of travel of the bucks as they enter the camera's radius, you can also determine where they are most likely bedding. And by moving cameras around, you can get a feel for the size and shape of their ranges.
That was at 7:30 in the evening, coming from the right. So he's probably living around that way.
With several weeks worth of photos in hand, I had a good feel for Lefty's range and core, and when he began to show daylight activity, it is time to make the first move. The opening effort is a yawner. Nothing showed up this first evening in front of the redneck blind, though I had gotten daylight photos 2 days before. However, my greatest hope rests in a different setup. Just 150 yards to the south is a standing cornfield. I just need the combine to make its passage.
Got a cornfield on your farm, the best time to hunt that is the day that the farmer picks it or the few days that follow. The deer just love coming out and picking up all the waste grain off the ground. It's just easy pickings for them. So we've got a little plan this year. I've got some of these redneck blinds on trailers. We're going to put one back here as soon as Tom gets done picking it. And that's going to be a spot where I think, there's some hope that that buck that I'm hunting might come out. So we're hoping that maybe with the corn being picked, he might pop up on top here in daylight once or twice here over the next few days. So, with a little bit of luck, if we get a blind out there where Tom picked that corn, maybe we can, get a crack at that deer. So that's the plan here for the next half an hour or so, is to get these blinds situated and try to take advantage of these feeding patterns of these deer right after the corn comes out.
I've had a lot of success hunting near food plots, but before you can hunt them, you have to get them growing. And the key to growing a good plot is getting the seed in the ground at the right depth and the right rate. RTP's Genesis no-till seeder has done a great job for me on our farm. Deer love trophy rocks, and that makes them a great choice to attract deer to your trail cameras. Rocks are much less expensive than maintaining bait sites, and each one lasts a long time, so you can make less trips to check your cameras, and that means less chance to bump deer. If you enjoy scouting with trail cameras, Trophy Rock is the perfect attractant. Some years we have to shoot a number of does for management purposes on the farms we hunt. Mike and Jared put their Hoyt Defiant and Hoyt Carbon Defiant to good use on today's hunt. Accurate bows like these are critical, and by practicing with them, we are able to make quick, humane kills. This is the key to responsible deer management. Jared and Mike were hunting a small corridor in the timber planted to frigid forage autumn quick plot. Most people think that food plots are only for evening hunts. This hunt proves that micro plots like this work great on morning hunts also. Autumn quick plot is a good choice for such locations because it grows quickly and does well in areas without full sunlight.
It's October 18th and I'm heading back into that blind that I moved into this field 3 days ago when the farmer pulled out of there with the combine the day that he picked it. This is one of the spots where we really expect to see, or we really hope to see, this buck that we're calling Lefty. It's right about in the middle of what we believe to be his range right now. It's a little bit warm today. It's probably low 70s, which, you know, ideally would be 20 degrees cooler than this, but we've seen some pretty decent borderline daylight buck activity here during the past week, and it's been fairly warm. So I don't know if the deer are adapting to it, but it's not enough to scare me away. I'm definitely going to go back and give it a try.
Got about 35 minutes left here, and not a single deer has come out yet. There's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, the conditions are nice. It is just a tad warm, but you know, we've seen deer move on days like this. We were just talking about how much time we had left, and we figured we had about 10 minutes left. And we hadn't seen a single deer on this field. We saw two does across on the other side. And Zach looked out and said, "There's a deer." And I looked out and said, "Well, that's him." I mean, it was Lefty. And, you know, fortunately I've got lighted sight pins on the fuse sight, and I turned it on quick and I drew back, and he's, you know, it's 38 yards across the field, and he was on this side of the edge. So I put the 30-yard pin and squeezed it off, and thump, and he ran along that edge, but he was falling when I last saw him go past the end of the field. So like I said, I mean, I didn't have time to even get nervous. It was literally just a few seconds and there was the shot. But now it's starting to catch up with me. I'm shaking a little bit now, but look at that thing. You can see where he broke that one tine off. If he'd have broken off much more, I'm thinking I probably wouldn't have shot him, but just a cool old deer. He's a buck that we got a lot of history with, and like I said, I mean, that's where a bunch of the satisfaction comes from. You're not always going to kill, I mean, obviously this is a beautiful, nice, high-scoring, mature buck. Well, he's not high-scoring, but he's a beautiful, mature buck. You're not always going to kill bucks with big antlers. But, you know, if you kind of keep track of the deer that you're hunting with trail cameras and filming the way that we do, you can get a lot of history on the deer. And that way, you make it more of a personal quest when you go after them. when you finally get him, there's a lot more satisfaction involved. So he's a cool buck. Couldn't be happier. He was the #1 target going into this season. Here we are on the 18th of October, and he's already dead. So a lot of things kind of fell in place for us today to make this happen. Well, I got Lefty back out today, cleaned him up so you can get a little bit better look at him. I want to talk real quick about the history that we've had with this buck over the past 3 seasons now. If you go all the way back to 2013, we think he was a 2-year-old, so that would make him 5 years old now. Then the next season, I was hunting out of a redneck blind about just a few hundred yards from here, and he was starting to show some pretty good character. His left side was taking some mass and some shape to it, but his right side was starting to fill in. It wasn't just the same big long fork that he had as a 2-year-old. So he was high on the watch list for the following year. We really wanted to see what that deer turned into. We found a shed off him that winter, so that was helping us to narrow down or continue to feel comfortable that we knew where this deer was living. Prior to the 2015 season, this buck was popping up on the trail camera consistently. We had lots of pictures of him. We never saw the buck during the 2015 season. So there was a little bit of apprehension as to whether or not this buck was still on the farm coming into the 2016. I put the cameras out there in sometime around the 10th of September, and immediately he was right back on there again. Right away, that was the #1 buck on my list. I spent a lot of time running cameras all over the areas where I thought that Lefty might be living. And I never picked up pictures of him except in 2 spots. Right back over there by that redneck blind, and then there's another cornfield behind me, another little small 1-acre cornfield, and we ran camera over there. You move cameras around and you try to find the boundaries of a buck's range, but to the extent that we understood where he was living, this was the middle of it. And as it turned out, it was a fluke, of course, that he was the only deer out. 5 minutes left, 10 minutes left of legal shooting time, he popped out. It turned into a pretty fast evening in just a few moments time there. I'm fortunate as a landowner here in Iowa that I can get 2 tags that I can fill prior to the late season with my bow. So I've got another one, and we still have a couple of weeks here as we build up to November. The action's gonna get more and more hectic and fast-paced each day. And I can't wait now. I've got a great buck on the ground. So it sort of takes some of the pressure off, if you want to call it that, or just sort of gives you a sense of being able to relax and have the rest of the season sort of play itself out. I can't wait until we get into the rut and we get into the month of November. I hit this buck square in the shoulder. You couldn't have center punched it any more in the shoulder, and the arrow went all the way through this deer. And I attribute the success of that shot to the small diameter 5mm full metal jacket shafts that I shoot. I killed this buck last night with about 10 minutes left of legal shooting time. When you get into a blind, when the light starts to go low, your pins disappear. But if I wouldn't have had my fused sight with the little sight light that comes with it in that blind and been able to turn that thing on, there's no way I could have shot this buck. I always use the Ozonics units. In these blinds, those things are, I would say, almost 100% effective from my experience. The wind was coming out of the north. We had 2 does straight south of us, and if they'd smelled us and started blowing, there's no way that this buck would have came out. So it's just another example of where the Ozonics unit and the redneck blind working together contributed to a successful hunt. One of the main factors that contributed to my success on this hunt was the redneck blind. I pulled that thing in here the day that the farmer picked this field. It's a great way to use these blinds. If you've got access to a trailer and you can put one of them on a trailer, you can just roll it right into one of these fields or roll it into a field right after the farmer pulls out. I used the rocket steelhead on my hunt for Lefty and all the other deer hunts I've been on since roughly 1998. I like this head because it is simple, ruggedly made, and always opens. Also, this is the best penetrating mechanical head I've ever used, and penetration was important on this hunt because the arrow hit the back of Lefty's shoulder. Though my season got off to a fast start, I still have another tag, and Aaron now plots his next move at what he has come to call the buck nest.
As you can see here over my shoulder, there's that willow tree down there about 100 yards away. And both nights we sat here from across the field, we watched a big buck get up from underneath that willow tree. He's gonna start glassing this field and hope a big buck shows up before dark.
Mike and Jared now have lots of meat in the freezer and increasingly turn their attention to bucks. Jared received permission to hunt a new farm, and as he begins to put the puzzle together, he realizes this could be his best spot. Trail cameras reveal several impressive bucks. As these stories build, another one ends. 150 miles west of Mike and Jared, Taylor Byers tags a big-bodied early season buck with her muzzleloader. Every year, October is the appetizer we eat before the main course. It is rare that the appetizer actually tastes this good. The season is off to a great start. Though the main course is still weeks away, our thoughts already start turning to lonely northwest winds, soughing through leafless trees and slate-gray skies spitting flakes of snow. It is the inescapable hope of every bow hunter. Soon we will be in the midst of that dream. Soon we will be chasing November.